What's going on, everyone? It's Dr. Jordan Sada coming to you live from NYC. Are you ready to go to Health and Back? All right, let's get it. What it do, people? I am back again with another episode. I have another amazing guest joining me today, all the way from New York, so not too far, but Mr. Bryce Pole Merchant. What's going on, my friend?
Jordan, how are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, I can't complain. The weather seems to be picking up. We have no more masks in most places here in New York, so that's a sign that things I think are on the mend and life is returning back to normal. How are you feeling in your situation?
I'm feeling pretty good. No, same thing. I see the sun is out there shining. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
This is like that time of year when it's not sure if it wants to be spring just yet. It's like it's peeking through. You see it peeking through. Like he's kind of want to come out, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good as far with a lot of things, just life, business, relationships. Everything is just going in a very good pace right now, and I'm very satisfied with that.
Awesome, man. And I think that's a good segue into, first of all, how Bryce and I became acquainted. Bryce trains at JDI Barbell,
Yep,
repping JDI, amazing community up there at JDI.
absolutely.
So I was introduced to Bryce through that community to help him out. But Bryce is the type of guy that takes advice very seriously. He's serious about powerlifting, which he'll get into in a little bit. And it was an amazing experience working with Bryce. I followed him for years after that. Hasn't been that long, but it seems like it's been years since we last worked together.
Yeah.
And seeing Bryce where he is now, I thought it would be a great opportunity for Bryce to share his story. So, Bryce, tell me a little bit about your background, how you got to powerlifting, how you got into coaching. Let's hear it, man.
All right. So my background, I was stereotypical fat kid. You know, I loved eating everything and anything. My parents like to cook. My nanny liked to cook, and I like to eat. So therein was the issue. So coming into high school, I weighed about 300 pounds as a freshman. So at that point in my life, I knew something needed to change. I was extremely unhappy. I was extremely dissatisfied with how I looked. I wasn't confident in how I looked. I didn't want to go out and do things because I couldn't find the clothes that I liked because it was so hard to find things that look good. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna do something about it. So I just started with like just walking, which graduated into running. I ended up joining my school's cross country team. Never went in any of the actual races, but I went to all the practices. I never missed a workout. So I was there all the time. And I eventually, my coach for that team, he's who introduced me to weightlifting. So he was into like CrossFit. And God bless my eye. That guy, him and the other coaches at my high school, Hostos Lincoln Academy of Science, they literally helped change the trajectory of my life, giving me that experience, that exposure. But anyway, so they gave me that first introduction to like weightlifting. He taught us how to clean. He taught us how to snatch. Relatively wasn't the best, but squat, bench, deadlift, all of that. And once I got exposed to that, I was like, oh, I actually really like this. And it just turned into I would just started reading everything I could on it. I just started trying to make the best programs that I could, reading as many books as I could, forums, blogs, YouTube videos, hitting everything that I could get to so that I can make my experience training as best as I can. Cause I was like 15, 16. I couldn't afford a coach or anything like that. Like my parents couldn't afford a coach. So I had to figure out a lot of shit. And fast forwarding to like starting coaching, that happened because I wanted to be the coach that I didn't have, like for everyone else. And then I eventually discovered powerlifting while I was in college. I met like a bunch of lifters while I was upstate, and then I've met more lifters when I ended up going downstate to Lehman College. I found this community of powerlifters there, and we just meshed, and we all just fell in love with the sport, and that's how I ended up coaching some of my friends, and I just kind of just built it up from there.
Yeah, so I think similar to you, how I started my practice is because I wanted to be a better version of what I was receiving because I was getting physical therapy in high school for an injury and to this day, it's what continues to drive me to be that difference maker. And it seems like in your friend group of powerlifters, you wanted to be that person that, if someone didn't necessarily have the access to coaching, you wanted to provide that spark to get them going.
Yeah,
That sounds about right.
100%.
So fast forward a little bit to today, you have a ton of lifters under your belt. Uh, we know why you got into coaching, but let me ask you, what have you learned so far coaching more and more lifters?
Um, I've learned that that's a great question. I've learned that you have to be flexible. You can't rely on one approach. There are multiple answers to like different situations, and being willing to take the time to figure out what those answers could be, because it's always different for every person. Like you don't like general things will work, but sometimes you try something and you're like, fuck, this isn't working. Like you're not progressing. Like, and we have to like kind of dig in and say, okay, we have to maybe peel away what we thought would have been the best approach, try something else, and then build back up from there until we eventually kind of like just throwing things at the wall and seeing what's working. And that's unfortunately like an aspect of coaching that people don't understand, is that we don't always have all the answers right then and there, and you have to figure it out over time.
Yeah, don't I know about that and having to figure that out. But I'm glad you learned that lesson earlier in your career rather than later, and if you would have ended up learning anyway. But I think what I'm seeing now, even just over the past 5 years compared to when I started powerlifting, is I see more and more people wanting to get into the sport. Either they see
Yeah.
someone lifting crazy heavy weight on Instagram, and now we know a little bit more as well about the benefits of resistance training on our well-being, on our musculoskeletal system, our
Yep.
mental health.
Yep.
And we're also seeing a lot of women getting into powerlifting as well, which I think is a beautiful thing. So
Absolutely.
despite the fact that so many people want to get into powerlifting, which is great, what would you say some of the biggest pitfalls or mistakes novice powerlifters tend to make as they start?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, Definitely one of the biggest mistakes I see is is people being scared to compete because they just don't feel strong enough. And I know it because that was me as well. I've seen that lifter many times. I've been that lifter, and I get it. Like you feel like when you want to get on the platform, you want to be able to do so x amount of weight. You want to squat X, you want to bench X, you want to deadlift X, but it doesn't fucking matter. Like at the end of the day, that first meet is just about getting the experience, getting that exposure, being thrown into it and learning, like experiencing what it is to powerlift, right? And sure, is it great to have those goal numbers? Absolutely. You need something to work towards, of course, but you need to also just fucking compete. And the longer you delay, you just need to compete. Like that's the end goal, right? Like you want to get onto the podium. It's not just going to magically happen. You have to get there. You have to go into the meets. You have to know what it's like to do all of the lifts in succession. You have to know what it's like to be in the weight in the warm-up room. You have to know what it's like to take the commands. You're not going to get that training in the gym all the time. You need to be in there doing it. So that's definitely like one of the big ones.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've learned just in my personal journey, which I haven't competed in, I think I'm a little further away from competing than I ever have been before because of other interest, as my listeners know. You're always competing mainly against yourself.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you continue to remind yourself that you're doing your best, you start to look at where you've come. I mean, I look at pictures of myself from 5 years ago, and I look at the numbers I was lifting 5 years ago, and even though I'm not pulling as heavy now as I was even last year, like when I take all of that into consideration, it's crazy how far I've come. And I think many novice lifters who are just trying to get their feet wet, they should look at, and we all know that the amount of gains you can stack on when you're first starting is like considerably greater than
Yeah.
when you're actually an intermediate and more advanced lifter, where it takes a lot of good recovery principles being implemented and strategic programming involved to change those variables up to make those adaptations. to really just enjoy like the amount of progress you make in a relatively short period of time. At least that's what
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I definitely wish I had a coach when I had my newbie gains because they were wasted, unfortunately.
Mm.
But it's now I just love seeing how far the sport has come because you're getting all these super motivated, super strong kids who are like they're not going to they're not going to football, they're not going to baseball, they're not going to basketball, they're coming to powerlifting. And now we're seeing all these freaks coming out of the woodwork, and it's just so exciting. And it's just seeing how many people are just getting into the sport and how much it's growing. How it's just watching it grow. Like just today, I have a couple kids who I see training at Blink asking about like coaching, just because they want to experience powerlifting, right? And it makes me so happy to see.
Yeah, I think there's like so much raw talent that in years past might not have been tapped into, and those kids might have just needed someone like yourself to see as a role model, as a potential place that they can get to do something that's incredibly healthy, something good for your mental health, something to share with
Yeah,
friends. So there's just a lot of aspects of community and well-being involved in powerlifting that I think, to your point, I think it's great that people who are, I'm gonna say this. I think I powerlifting is certainly for everybody, but I think you and I can both agree that there are certain people that just have it,
oh
and
yeah,
they are certainly like
yep,
made for powerlifting. And it's nice to see those people in the sport that their bodies are like their potential is super high, and they're
yeah.
pursuing a sport where their genetic potential is like leaning that way versus like someone who might be more inclined to be better at dance or be better at soccer. So to see people with that high ceiling for powerlifting, I mean, the numbers that people are putting up now, it's just
It's
crazy. And
insane.
it's
It's
just
really insane. It doesn't
it's
make any sense. Like I know this kid who's like, I think he's what, 20, 20, 21, something like that. He's squatting, I think he's already squatted over 700 pounds by now. He's been training for what, like 2, 3 years, something like
yeah,
that. Like that's insane. Like some people are quite like, you hate to say it, you hate to see it, but some people are, like you said, just built different. And
yeah,
be mad at your parents because that's the only thing you can do. Have
yes.
better parents. Sorry.
Yeah. But at the same time, you could save the next generation by building your genetic pool up very strongly. I think that's how I look at it. It's like, I got my kids are probably going to have pretty sick quads because I've built them up to a point, and
Yeah, you gotta pass it on.
all you got to do is find a wife with killer quads too, and then boom, we're going to have a powerlifting child.
Hell yeah.
But so I know it's we have a lot of people motivated, and motivation to powerlift is only one aspect of the puzzle because I think, just like everything else in life, it's a journey. So there's going to be times when inspiration and motivation are really high, and there's going to be some times when it's not going to be so high, whether
Yeah.
it be because you're not making progress or other factors in life are getting in the way and really getting in the way of your training. I guess this is a kind of a two-part question. From a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, what
Yeah.
would you say is most important to being sustainable and healthy while you're preparing for not even just a meet, but just to continue wanting to powerlift?
This is actually really interesting because I recently came from a point myself where I changed my mindset towards competing to where like I still want certain things for myself, but my training has kind of taken a bit of a backseat in comparison to the progress that I want to see my lifters make. And it was kind of difficult to reconcile with that. I'm like, I'm still going to obviously do the best I can for myself and my training going forward with that. But realizing like I need to be the person in the back burner. Like this isn't about me. Like this is about the people who have entrusted me with their goals to help me make their plans, take their plans into fruition. And coming to that, I was like, oh shit, like I need to start thinking differently. I need to start approaching this differently. And in that, I've actually gotten into a better relationship with my athletes. And that's easily probably the biggest important aspect of coaching. It's relationships. Like we're in the relationship business, right? It's people to people. Is that how many times do you contact most people in a day, right? How many times do you talk to your coach? Like I talk to my coach almost every day, right? So realizing the importance of those relationships, the importance of those bonds, and it shifting that towards my training. So I'm still going to do the best I can, of course, but I want more for my people than I want for myself. And but coming back to the, I'm sorry, I got a little tangent there. Repeat the original question.
So I was curious, maintaining sustainability and your overall health while you're training, like, are there any physical or mental
Oh man, I got
pieces?
completely off track.
No, no, no. This is what
I
it's
got
meant
completely
for.
off track. Sorry,
That's why
buddy.
it's called To Health and Back. So you went away, now we come back.
All right. So how I keep things on track, it's understanding that my body is going to not feel great all the time and just accepting that. When you're in prep mode, or sometimes just when you're doing heavy training in general, you're not going to feel great. And you can you can get upset about it, like you can let that impact you, or you could just say, all right, this is what it is. Like this is a part of what training is. I have to do this. I have to accept this. And I feel like that's one of those things that you just have to learn over time. And it's easy to tell someone that, but actually doing it is a completely different thing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I can't agree with you more, and I think it's normal to go through periods where everything is not great, and it's easy to look on social media and see all the good things that everyone else is posting about
Yeah.
their training journey, and being a little bit disillusioned that everything is great and your life is the only one that sucks relative to how well they're doing. But I think a lot of it is just like understanding like where you are in the process and being okay being imperfect.
Yeah.
I feel has been one really helpful tool for me, whether it be just like with my body image, with my training goals, with my business goals, just
Yeah.
understanding that, the river is sometimes going to get rough, sometimes things are going to be hot, but as long as you're always making progress and making moves going forward, there's really nothing wrong with that. If anything, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. That's like the thing with social media is it's a vacuum. No one posts how shitty their day was. No one posts how shitty this week was. Like no one, because no one cares to see that. They only want to see you when you're successful. So that's all we
Hmm.
see. And then we just get conditioned into only seeing people at their best. So then when you're not feeling your best, you're like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know? Then so it's rough, especially as you know, being running a business and having to be on social media as part of that. It's a little hard to escape from it. I'm like I know personally, like sometimes I am dreading getting on social media to like make my post for the day because
Hmm.
I'm thinking it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna see all these people lifting. It's like I'm not feeling great about my training and whatever, and just that anxiety just running through my mind. You know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a necessary evil to
Yeah,
just build awareness at this time. Not the only one, because correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like a lot of the connections you're making with clients of yours is not actually on social media, but more so just word of mouth and building relationships in person.
yeah,
Is that's about accurate?
yeah. I would say the remote side is getting a little bit bigger, but for the most part, I get a lot of my clients from word of mouth, just talking. Say,
Mhm.
hey, so. Oh, I know this guy, and you know, people who I meet at the gym, just talking to people. And that's something that I've been getting a lot better at because I'm extremely antisocial. Uh, I don't like I don't like talking if I don't need to. I don't like presentations. Like I prefer to just like kind of keep to myself. And so forcing myself to like have conversations with people, interacting with people has just kind of been paying for itself. Right. And it does feel good too, because like it's nice to be alone, but it's also hard to be alone, if that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, I just went on a solo trip to Italy, so I totally get aloneness and how that feels. But I think you benefited a lot from stepping outside your comfort zone and putting yourself out there, because I think the good thing about you is you know your shit. I see that you know your shit. So you should be confident going up to people and saying, like, I know how to get you to where you need to go. And
Yeah,
not only do I have the knowledge of, strength and conditioning principles, I'm also someone you're going to want to kick it with, and you're going to want to message often,
yeah,
because I just understand
because I'm that
where
guy.
you're coming from. Well, yeah, you're that guy. There's a lot of people that are that guy, but everyone has their own flavor.
Yeah,
And you might not be the ideal coach for everybody, but there are certain people that are going to gravitate towards your energy and your approach, because it's just going to flow. And when someone believes in their coach, just like when one of my clients believes in my ability to heal them, the outcomes are always better,
yeah,
without question.
yeah. Because if you don't believe in the system doesn't matter, right? You need to be able to have that faith that what you're doing is working, and that starts with trust. And that's another thing is like coaching is trust. People are gonna buy from who they trust. You could be the smartest fucking coach in the world. You could have the best programming. You could have whatever credentials, but if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter. And I think like as coaches and as practitioners, our goal is to have the greatest impact on the most amount of people. But we can't do that if nobody knows who we are.
Absolutely. Now, as you grow your practice and as you go along your own journey for powerlifting, are there any other coaches or powerlifting resources that you constantly go to for new information, like to better yourself as you go along? Like, I know that like Juggernaut, West Side, Barbell, and Barbell Medicine are a couple big powerlifting resources. Squat University for some
Right.
people. Are there any others that you are particularly fond of?
Personally, I have I'd say a pretty good network of coaches who I've worked with and who I know, and I often use them as a resource. So my current coach, Sean Collins, Sincere Training Systems, um, head coach at JDI Barbell, Jesse Isare, Alex Hall, also a coach at JDI. Um, I've done like programs online. I forget his name. I think it's Avi Silverberg. He
Okay.
was
Yep.
the,
Hmm.
you know Avi Silverberg?
Yep.
Yeah, he
Not
had
not
a
well, but yeah.
yeah, he had like a program for like powerlifting courses on teaching the techniques, game day coaching. He has other programs as well. What else have I used recently? Oh, I just bought these lectures from the Raise the Bar Summit,
Okay.
and dude, it like mind blowing. Like it's made me realize the value of going to like a summit. Because I've never been to a summit before, but having seen what it's like from the lectures, I have to go now. And I
Mm.
think one of the things that has helped me to be more successful and to grow my business the way I have been lately is how hard I've been pursuing education. Like I just registered to take my CSCS exam in June. I've wanted that for a very long time, but I've just been no excuse. I've been bullshitting. I've had no excuse, but I'm gonna get it done now, and just continuously finding other programs that I can invest in, more resources, more books, more programs, talking to people who are a lot fucking smarter than me because I'm not that smart. I don't think I'm the smartest coach, but I'm fucking trying to be.
But surrounding yourself with the smartest people is a smart move, whether you're
Yeah.
smart or not. I might have to steal those lectures from you, man. That sounds interesting, because I kind of like you. Sometimes I'm always after education, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know exactly like what I need. Sometimes you don't know what you need until you come across a client that maybe gives you a little bit of a challenge because the
Yeah.
things aren't working out, and then you start looking into some. I think once in a while there's like a groundbreaking study that shows that the training principles that we've been abiding by for so long are like not exactly the way it's supposed to, but or like is like linear periodization versus undulating periodization. We kind of have an idea about that type of stuff, but every so often, unless you're coming across those like one or two seminal articles, like to continue challenging yourself, I think for me, it takes a like either someone like you being like, "Oh, I checked this out. I need to, you need to get on this," or like for me to come across a client that I'm just like, "Why can't I figure this out? Like, I need a different
Yeah.
approach."
You need something to just get the gears turning again.
Yeah, but I think even experts are the ones that continue to learn are the ones that are gonna continue to thrive because let's face it, like I don't treat people the same way as I did when I graduated from school. Like the types of conversations, the questions that I asked them are completely different.
Yeah.
And but I think that's the beautiful thing about working with people is that we're all dynamic and the world around us is dynamic too. So everyone's needs constantly change. And we have to be that objective guide to provide a roadmap that is constantly changing.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because people want to know exactly where they need to go, but things change all the time. So it's one of the things I enjoy about coaching. I don't know about you, but it is a challenge.
Yeah. It's difficult to like shifting through everything because you think you know one thing and then you see something and you're just like, huh, I haven't thought about it this way. And it completely changes like the way you approach things.
Hmm.
And those moments are always just like so eye-opening. It's like, wow, I really don't know shit.
Yeah.
I for I forget what it's called, but you know that like that saying where it's like the something effect. I, it's like the more you know, the less you.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
something like something.
Socrates. I think it was a Socrates
Yeah,
quote. It's like, well, one that I abide by is the truest wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing.
yeah, that's a good one too. Basically along those lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I figured, but it's got to be one of those Greek philosopher effects or something like that.
Yeah, some old smart guy.
Yeah, but that's certainly cool. All right. So you're killing it, especially compared to where well, you weren't in a bad place when I met you, but now you have a ton more clients and lifting way more weight than you did when I first met you.
And
So
that hey, you played a part in that because I did not know what I was gonna do because my knee
mhm.
was like insane. Like I
Well,
was walking downstairs and that shit felt like it was gonna explode.
yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for the opportunity, as always, to help people like you. Like, I don't undermine trust. That's why I take all these encounters that I have so seriously, and I know you do with your clients as well, because people are giving you their time, their energy, and their money.
Yeah,
So I don't take those things lightly. So I'm not going to go into a session and bullshit. I'm all about business, especially I understand your needs as a power lifter and just as Bryce compared to the other lifters at JDI who have different needs, especially if they're weightlifters compared to power lifters. I'm not going to
yeah.
treat you the same, and I think it's one of the challenges that I enjoy. But looking into the crystal ball for like the next, I don't know if you're good with like short term and long term goals, but like, I don't know, what are you working on next? Like now you have clients, you're training. What's next for Merchant Made Power? I didn't mention your company before.
Merchant made power, baby. So short term, just keep expanding, keep growing. I've found a pretty good flow of how work is going right now, accessing leads, converting leads. So I'm very excited to just keep going in that direction, growing my page, growing my brand. I want to get more design work done. Long term, for me, I want to eventually get to nationals. I want to go pro in the USAPL. And long term for Merchant Made Power, I want to get my guys at the same level. I want my guys with pro cards, and I want them competing at nationals. I want them going to worlds. Kind of like building a franchise, like Joseph Franzo, um, what's his name, Sean Noriega, my
Hmm.
coach Sean Collins, my former coach Rondell Hunt, building up that team where it's like they show up at the media, it's like, oh shit, like they're here to kill something, they're here to do something. Like that's what I want.
Yeah, that's an incredible goal. I don't, yeah, and I think a lot of people would be intimidated coming up against heavy hitters like that, but there's always room to create something of your own. And I'm really glad that you're deciding to take on that challenge, because I do think you have the character to make that happen, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. And a lot of people look at companies as being immediately successful, but I think I also appreciate it. It took Sean Collins, Sean Noriega, and all those other guys a ton of time to build what they
Yeah,
have now. So some people give up too early, because it does take a ton of time and a ton of dedication. But once you get
ton of
there,
money.
and a ton of money,
Oh yeah,
but
lots of
then what?
money.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that even when you get to where you want to be, you're gonna be like, okay, but I want more now. Like I
Exactly.
got here.
Yep.
Now I want to just
Yep.
like take over everything. So, but that's what's beautiful. It's like our goals always change, and we're always going after something, and whether it be big or small in our personal lives or our training lives, I think that's great. But if anyone wanted to work with you, if anyone had questions about powerlifting, where's the best place they could reach you at?
Best way to reach me is on my Instagram. So that's merchantmade at merchantmade power. You could also reach out to me on Twitter. I'm not as active on there, but if you have it, you can reach me out. But you can just follow me, send me a message. I can tell you about my program, how I like to onboard, and we can set up a call where I basically would break down how we like to approach your training, your goals, all that good stuff. So at Merchant Made Power, talk to me.
I've seen the power in action, and let me tell you, it is powerful. So, uh, and if you just want to walk into JDI Barbell, you'll likely see Bryce just lifting there anyway. So, if you want to in-person meet up on a whim, just go to JDI Barbell. They'd love to have
Absolutely.
you. Just a shout out JDI. It's been a minute since I've been over there, but it is an
Yeah, you should
amazing
come down and
community.
get a lift in, brother.
Yeah, I know. I really should. It's it's a it, the powerlifting community in New York is a great one in general, but
Yeah.
JDI, what up? But anyway, that's all we have today, beautiful people. I again want to thank Bryce for his time and his insight. Now get out there and make shit happen.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, brother. Thank you for having me on.